Welcome in, y'all. Today we have got AFC tiered rankings, team tier rankings, power rankings based on tiers. We're going to dive into it. Really appreciate y'all tuning in. Going to get kicked off with tier 7. Yes, I do have 7 tiers in the AFC. I think overall the AFC is a much stronger conference at the top and throughout. I just think that there is more competition throughout this conference than there is in the NFC. I think the NFC could have several of the teams at the bottom of the league when you look at the season standings at the end of the year. But starting off with tier 7 here. And this is a team that really should be in tier 5. They're not in tier 5 because they are directionless. And that is the Las Vegas Raiders. I think the Raiders have a quality offensive line. I really like what they've done up front on the defensive side of the ball as well. There's some pieces to work with. I think you have good coaching with Patrick Graham on the defensive side of the ball. I love that you can get 12 personnel with Michael Mayer and Brock Bowers. Devontae Adams is still there. Jacoby Myers is no slouch either. I think he's a good number 2 receiver. So you've got pieces to work with. I think Zamir White is a tough runner. But you did nothing at quarterback to move the needle at all. At all. And for that, I'm penalizing you, putting you in the bottom of the AFC at tier 7. And look, again, I think they should be in tier 5 based on like probably how the season will end up, how they will fare this season, wins and losses. But because they are directionless, I can't get on board. Now, tier 6, I can see the future, right? That's the Broncos and the Patriots. Both of these teams drafted quarterbacks this year. I think that Drake May is the second most talented quarterback in this class, in this rookie class. And I think that the pieces they added around him get me pretty juiced up. I also like the fact that they have an extremely strong defense still. Even after trading Matt Judon, I still think that they have a good defense. So I think the Patriots will be competitive, and I really do see the path forward. A really nice path forward for them, following the departure of Bill Belichick, obviously Tom Brady being gone for several years now, no longer in the league. So I've got the Patriots there in tier 6. I've also got the Broncos. Bo Nix is a perfect fit for Sean Payton. This is a guy who's been through a lot, can take tough coaching, and can really operate in a quick strike, timing-based offense, get the ball out quickly, but he can also elevate those around him by being a playmaker. He can throw the ball off platform. He can get outside the pocket, make plays with his legs, and he is extremely accurate. And I think he has plenty of arm strength to get the job done. So I can see the future with both of those teams, not necessarily thinking that they're going to, be super feisty or push for the playoffs this year, but I like what they've got going on. I think if I was a fan of either of those organizations, I'd feel good about the future. In tier 5, we've got some feisty teams, but they have a bunch of question marks still. The Colts, the Steelers, the Chargers, and the Tennessee Titans. The Colts, the question is not about coaching on the offensive side of the ball, but can Gus Bradley's defense continue to hold up? Yes, they've gotten much better on the defensive front. I think Leatu Latu was a great pick for them, but I have questions about the secondary, especially at corner, and obviously they have good linebackers as well, but questions at corner in a Gus Bradley defense is not a recipe for great success. They're in a tougher division now. I think that there's a couple teams in the division better than them. I think the Titans are in a similar range as them, and Anthony Richardson going into year 2, technically you could say it's year 1, like he did not complete year 1, maybe year 1.5 for Anthony Richardson, but he's still got a long way to go in terms of his accuracy and development as a quarterback. I think he moves in the pocket well. I think he sees the game fairly well. He's obviously an absolute freak. Amazing runner. Jonathan Taylor in the backfield with him. He's got good receivers to throw to, good offensive line. But overall, I just think that there's still enough questions about the Colts that I have them kind of on the outside looking in, playoff picture-wise. Steelers, on paper, there's a ton of questions. Super young offensive line, lots of moving parts there, which I like all the new guys that they added in the draft this year. I loved adding Fatanu, Zach Frazier, and obviously the kid out of South Dakota State as well. But overall, I just still think there's plenty of questions on offense, especially at quarterback. And then, Arthur Smith trying to rehab his professional career, Russell Wilson, Justin Fields. I love George Pickens. I think Pat Fryermuth's a good football player. Jalen Warren, I know, just went down with a little bit of an injury as well. So there's definitely question marks there with the Steelers. I think their defense looks rock solid, going to be one of the best units in the league, and that's why they're in this spot. And obviously Mike Tomlin just doesn't have losing seasons. So they're going to be up here. The Chargers, Jim Harbaugh, and Justin Herbert, I think that they're emphasis on being able to control the lines of scrimmage is going to be real. I think it's going to help them out a lot. They've still got a ways to go in terms of really building out that wide receiver core and kind of finishing up this roster, but I do think they're going to be feisty this year. And the Tennessee Titans, everything is in place for them from a coaching perspective. I think that they've gotten a lot better. That's hard for me to say because I'm a huge Vrabel fan, but offensively, it was not good last year. It was not good at all. They've massively upgraded a lot of the offensive line. They have massively upgraded the receiver core. They did a lot to upgrade the secondary. I mean, they brought in two of the most veteran corners that they could have. L'Jarius Sneed, one of the highest priced guys, and Chidobe Awuzie, a very good corner in his own right. So I think the Titans have a lot going on, but I still have questions about Will Levis. I do still think, even though they upgraded the offensive line, there's questions on the right side. So we're going to see how it plays out with Tennessee Titans, but that's tier 5. Teams that are feisty but still have a bunch of questions about them: Titans, Chargers, Steelers, Colts. Tier 4, dangerous with some questions. I have the Jaguars, my Jacksonville Jaguars, the New York Jets, the Bills, the Browns, the Dolphins. The Jaguars, they have questions to answer about, can they overcome injuries should they face them this year? Is new defensive coordinator Ryan Nielsen really going to help flip that switch on that side of the ball? You know, they had some ups and downs on defense last year. They finished abysmal on both sides of the ball. Is this new look receiver core going to get the job done with Brian Thomas Jr. and Gabe Davis? Is the offensive line going to be able to get going and be more effective in the running game? So there's a lot of questions with the Jacksonville Jaguars, but a team that certainly is very dangerous in this AFC. The Jets, it's all about staying healthy. I don't need to go further down that road. The Buffalo Bills, Matt Milano's already out with a torn biceps. I think that you kind of had to rely on Matt Milano this year to really kind of hold the glue together on that defensive side of the ball at linebacker as one of your star players, probably your best player on defense. And you just have a lot of newness on both sides. You lost a lot of veteran pieces, and I know everyone's like, oh, well, those guys were injured. Not all of the players that they lost were injured last year. They lost a lot of guys that were not injured, that were high-impact players, and they have to overcome that this year. And look, they're still dangerous. Josh Allen, unbelievable, has a mind meld with the offensive coordinator. I think that they've got pieces to work with, but still have some questions, certainly. The Browns, can Deshaun Watson be Deshaun Watson in Houston or somewhere close to it? If he can, they're a Super Bowl contender. If not, they might not make the playoffs. Miami Dolphins, can you stay healthy? Can you make adjustments when teams are able to take away quick game? When teams are able to make Tua hold on to the ball for just a split second longer? Can you adjust to that? And can you play defense with a new defensive coordinator coming in and a lot of moving parts? Losing Christian Wilkins, losing some of your best offensive linemen. So questions, but dangerous. The Jaguars, the Jets, Bills, Browns, Dolphins. Tier 3, this is a team that could win it all. They do have some questions, but they have some overwhelming answers in Joe Burrow, Jamar Chase, T. Higgins, the Cincinnati Bengals. I think they're extremely well coached on both sides of the ball. If Joe Burrow can stay healthy, they've got the pieces in place to be as difficult to beat in the playoffs as anyone. Tier 2, these are my favorites to knock off the Chiefs. It is the Ravens. It is the Texans. The Ravens were extremely close to doing it last year. I think that they have upgraded their running game. They should be able to be more physical with Derrick Henry. Lamar Jackson obviously shedded some weight this year. He's trying to be a little bit more athletic, a little bit more speed in the open field. You've got Zay Flowers going into year 2. Mark Andrews is healthy. A lot of pieces on that defense departed. You also did lose some offensive line play, right? But I think that the Ravens are used to shuffling the offensive line. I like the answers that they have. And I still think the defense is going to be able to play at an extremely high level with the talent that they have. You know, Roquan Smith, Kyle Hamilton. I like some of the young guys that they added. They've still got good veterans all around that defense, and the defensive front should be able to hold its own and create penetration. And then that leaves Kansas City Chiefs. Forgot to go over the Texans. Excuse me. Texans in tier 2, they've got it all. They do not have one single area of their roster, in my opinion, that looks like a question mark. They've got a great head coach who's a defensive-minded guy, good offensive coordinator running kind of the Kyle Shanahan scheme. C.J. Stroud going into year 2. He is so smooth, unbelievably good young quarterback. C.J. Stroud is. Great receivers, great running game, very good offensive line. It's all there. It is all there for the Houston Texans. You know, they upgraded the edge rushers. I think the defensive front will be good to go once Danico Autry returns. The linebackers bringing in Aziz Al-Shaair, who has history with D'Amico Ryans. Then you've got really good safety play. Derek Stingley looks like he is ready to really burst onto the scene and potentially make a Pro Bowl, All-Pro type season. I think that Kamari Lassiter is an underrated piece at corner. So it's the Houston Texans, and until further notice, until something changes, the Kansas City Chiefs are the class of the AFC all by themselves. They're class of the NFL all by themselves. Patrick Mahomes, best quarterback I've seen. Andy Reid, one of the best coaches ever. Travis Kelce, one of the best tight ends ever. Chris Jones, one of the best defensive linemen ever. You've got a great defensive coordinator in Steve Spagnuolo. You've got speed all over the place on the offensive side of the ball, and you've got answers. You would still like to have L'Jarius Sneed on this football team, but hey, he's not walking through that door. I think that Steve Spagnuolo and this defense can get that figured out. Trent McDuffie is the reason the Chiefs decided they're not going to pay L'Jarius Sneed, and Trent McDuffie is going to be a fantastic corner for a long time. Can kind of be a matchup guy, can move inside, can play outside. They've got to get one more piece, in my opinion, that can really solidify the corner room. But other than that, Kansas City Chiefs look like they are on track to have a much better year than they did in the 2023 regular season in 2024 and contend for the Super Bowl just as they have, you know, for the past half decade with Patrick Mahomes and Andy Reid. That's going to do it for these tiered AFC power rankings, tier rankings, whatever you want to call them. Really appreciate y'all tuning in. If you enjoy the content here, please like, subscribe, hit that notification bell. Y'all have a good one.